we have 1 minute to go. We're at 57 seconds. This is the stage 2 race the world. I'm liking this race. It was a race that was kind of built for me. Not a lot of hills, some hills, but not a lot. Not a heavy climb. And when I did see the climbs, it was further enough ahead. I recognized they were coming up. Not only that, but I have ridden this course a couple of times before. Not a lot, but I think I've ridden it maybe 2 or 3 times. It was a race in the past, what I did on here. I don't remember what it was, but that's when I raced this race. This race today, lately I've been getting a few comments on my YouTube channel, which allows me to take some of the things and use them. I used them in the tiny races this week, which you will see coming up. But I really like using them. So we're at 7, 6, 5 seconds. 2, 1, and we're off. I start off on most of my races powered up to at least 500. That way I feel like if somebody jumps way out ahead of me, I can kind of keep up with them and don't get left too far behind. As you can see, the guy in the front took off. And what I try to do with somebody like that, I just try to maintain 500. I've noticed that as long as there's not a climb in the beginning where they can kind of leave me way behind, if it's just a steady, flat road in front of me, as you see, I can maintain 500, which is not bad for me. That's 3.0 wattage for me, kilowatts for me, so it's not that bad for me. I can maintain 3 point something in there. 500 is basically my racing speed for me, but my regular riding speed is about 350 watts. And that's a pretty common, nice area for me. That's about 2.1, 1.9 in that area. So I like that. You can see this is a downhill slope. And for me with downhill slopes, because of my weight, as I have mentioned before, it gives me a little bit of advantage because I can kind of back off. But I don't back off on here. As you can see, I'm still at 90 some pedals. I don't know the course, so I'm not taking a chance. And one thing I don't do sometimes, and I've been advised to hold off, kind of to back off a little bit, so that once I do hit a hill, it'll give me the energy. I have the energy to sustain a higher wattage going up, which I did do on a race, which I will post that one most likely Friday. But I did do it. I'm gonna look up the comments of the guy who did it before I post it so I can put it in there. But he gave me a comment to kind of back off in a longer races, and that race was almost 15 miles. But I backed off and I used it to keep my energy for the climb on that race. It was a pretty significant climb for me. Wasn't really no crazy numbers, I think 5 or 6%, but it was a nice climb. As you can see on this race, I'm doing fine. I pulled out the 7 seconds ahead. I'm constantly at the 500 watt area. I'm trying to stay there on this first lap just to get a feel of the race. If you get a feel of a race, if you're racing and you get a feel of the race, if it's a lap race, try to kind of look at the race as you're riding. That's what I do, and try to figure out, okay, with this arrangement where I'm going, I know I'm not going to recognize everything unless I've ridden this road a whole bunch of times, but what I do try to do is as I'm riding, I try to kind of recognize some of the things that'll be easier to remember. Like coming up on this building, I can remember that building. And I try to keep in mind that if I can remember some of the spots, I can tell what's going on throughout the race as I ride. So as I see that I am riding at a decent pace, I'm holding that 500 watts, and my heart rate is at 150 beats, which is ideal for me. 145, I think I can ride at 145 very comfortably for a while. Now when I'm doing my hydro and I'm doing a 30-minute row, my heart rate gets up to about 160, and I sustain that for the whole 30 minutes. But I am exhausted at the end. But you gotta remember, I'm rowing at 500 meters every 2 minutes and 6 seconds, 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Depends on how I'm feeling when I'm rowing, but that's what I row at. And as I'm coming around on this hill, I'm coming around on a decline, which, as you can see, it's not a deep decline, but it's enough of a deep climb that I speed my weight up. I speed my speed, because of my weight, I speed up. And with that giving me a chance to speed up, it gives me a chance to kind of rest my legs. But on this, since I don't know, now most times I will rest, but on this, since I don't know everything to the course, which I'm starting to learn that some of these courses are cut down, like the tiny races. I'll try to look them up. I've been trying to look them up. Somebody suggested that I look ahead in a comment, and I've tried to figure out where to look the race up at, because when I go into, I think it's medals or events, and I try to look down in there, leaderboards, that's what you call leaderboards, and I try to find the races in there. Maybe I'm in the wrong spot, but I find the races, but they're too long usually, and they have the different scales, so I don't know what it really is. For me, the thing is that I think sometimes if I could see, let's say the race has 300 meter climb, 300 feet climb for me. I'm using feet because I'm American, you know, we're backwards. A 300 feet climb, and I look at it, I go, okay, cool. And I kind of measure the feet climb as I'm riding the bike. So as I'm coming around on this one, I think I'm roughly getting to the point where I'm at the halfway mark almost for the first lap. I start looking at how many feet I get on that first lap, how many feet I have in already on that first lap, and I go, okay, cool. Then it kind of give me an idea, okay, maybe it's not that hairy of a race. And I know these, in this race right here where I'm at, I don't know if it's Scotland, I may be wrong, don't get offended if I am, but if it is Scotland, I know one of the places like that, there's not a lot of hills. Like, I think last time I ran the race, the rolling hills, those are perfect for me. So everybody thinks if you race with me, the flats are truly perfect. Which somebody said that before, which it is great for me, but the flats are harder because there is no downtime for me. A long flat for me, oh, I'm gonna be a tired boy, because there's no way for me to let off. I just gotta constantly keep pedaling in, because if I don't, I do slow down pretty significantly if I come off. So I have to constantly just keep that pedal going. And you will see that in some of these coming up races this week as I post them. There will be a lot of races where you will see, even though it's built for me, if it's truly just a flat race and that's all it is, it really is one of the more painful races for me. I like the rolling hills. Don't get me wrong. I don't like hills that are 10% climbs, or let's just be honest, I don't like hills over 3% climb, but 10%, 6% climbs are harder on me. But rolling hills are beautiful because I get a chance to use my momentum to get me up and over a hill. And as I get over the hill, for a moment, I get to come off the pedals and relax for a moment as I come down. Because you remember, I'm using a power meter. And my power meter only reacts to how much power I'm putting in those pedals. So I don't have gears. So if there's no gearing down, the only gear I have, I can turn the knob back, but I don't like doing that. I can adjust it forward some, but I really don't turn it back because I don't want to back off the power. And I've learned, and I've kind of got a sweet spot now where I'm pushing just the right amount of wattage for me that's comfortable, but I have been playing with putting it up a little bit more here and there, and I'm starting to feel a little bit more. This week with the races, I missed my 5 a.m. start. For some reason, it would not let me log into the race. I was on Swift, I was riding the bike, but it would not let me log in to the race. And up to about, I was sitting there up on the page, see upcoming event, kept tapping it, and it would not let me in. I think if I would have shut down Swift and came back into it, it might have worked, but I didn't think about that until after the race had started, so I just kind of just let it go. But next time I know just to cut off my Mac and then come back onto it, and it should give me a chance to race it. Now with this race, I'm still riding. I'm in the lead. I'm coming around on 30 miles per hour on a slight decline. Then if you look at my picture over there, I'm riding. I'm pretty high. I have 2 fans in my room now. I started off with 1, but I have 2 fans, and you can see, I see this hill coming up, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, I'm gonna turn because it happened last time. But no, so what I do, I increase my power. Pedals goes up, my power goes up. And that's what I do when I know a hill is coming. If I can catch it just right, as you notice, I'm coming down, but not as harsh as it would have been if I hadn't prepared for the hill coming up. I still come down pretty harshly, but not as bad. And the funny thing is, because I put so much power in, the recovery at the top of the hill as the numbers go down is really good for me. I don't lose as much speed, and plus I kind of gain it back really quick. And as I come around this first corner, I keep noticing it. So maybe somebody can tell me about the chipmunks. But I see the chipmunk. As I come around the corner, I notice, okay, cool. I have maybe 20% of the race left, 10, 15, 20% of the race left. And I know, okay, cool, I got another hill in. I got 130 feet of climb. If I don't get too much of another big major climb, I know the next round, I'm only gonna have 150, maybe 160 feet of climbing. So as I come down the hill, I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, cool. I see the other hill coming up, and what I do, I usually try to start speeding up just enough to get over the hill, but I see it's not a major hill, so I don't kind of overstress myself trying to get up that hill, but I know it's coming, so I just speed up enough. The pedals, usually I get them up to about 100, and I power over this next hill, but I know I'm coming to the end of this first lap. With me remembering that, like I said, if you look at the numbers and I see the scale going up, it's at 158 feet climbing already. I have one more little climb coming up around this corner right here, and I think I'm gonna try to power through this first one on this first lap. The climbs with me climbing these laps like this or getting up over these hills, as long as I can power myself as I come up over them, I don't have too much of a problem. One thing I do miss with us being in these locations like this, there's not a lot of other riders out here. So there's nobody riding on the street just riding that I can chase or catch up to. I don't know if they do it on the world races where it's just us out there, but I know on other races I've ridden, there are people riding around, especially if you're doing the bike loop. What is it? In Wacopia, if you're doing the bike loop there, you have a lot of people out there jogging, you have people riding the bikes, and I've ridden with people who help me get through these laps. Because sometimes when you're out in front by yourself and all you have is the numbers of the people behind you, most of the time I'm racing that number. And I'm just saying if I can keep the number the same or I can increase the distance. I watch the other people wattage, and when I see their wattage go crazy, especially when it flashes red, I know, okay, maybe I need to increase my wattage. So I constantly try to ride that ride and watch my wattage as I go. With that, I come into the end of this first lap, I look up and it's 200 and I'm running at about 225 maybe, 250, I don't know exactly, but I think the end is coming up on this one pretty soon. And it gives me an idea, okay, cool. You only got 250, maybe 240 feet of climb in this race. And you come, as I see myself coming around the corner, I noticed that there's another little itty bitty climb, but it's not really that bad. It's just I think 2 or 3%, just enough to give you a, hey, we still have a hill mentality with them. And I come up over the hill and I'm fine. So now I'm getting ready to come around and I see the entrance where we started at, and that's when I get kind of happy sometimes because I go, okay, cool, it's laps. I just came around that corner where the entrance at, I see the new sign. Now I know there's 233 feet of climb. Now when I go around this time, I'm gonna be measuring that off in my head. I know in total it should be 466 feet of climb total. So it gives me an idea how much climb is left in the race. When you're doing laps, you're trying to figure out the laps to the race. Oh, and this was my first time doing this course. Oh, I didn't realize that. I remember seeing something pop up, but I didn't realize. I know I've done this ride. You saw me do the light ride on the Royal Race before, but this one is a nice little ride. I don't know what the Royal Race gonna be next week. I kind of got lucky. I didn't run this one to Thursday, and because of that, I wanna get the name of the Swiffer, the other YouTuber. I saw him run this race twice, so it gave me a kind of idea of what was going on. But I didn't really look at his numbers. I was just listening. I like watching other Swiffers with YouTube channels. I like Run Condon. I like watching his stuff. And there's a couple of more out there that I like watching their material. And it gives me a way of understanding what they think when they're riding. You think you don't want to feel alone when you're doing something. You never want to feel like you don't want to feel like you're the only one. It's kind of nice to have a community of people out here who support. Watch all the YouTubers you see out here doing this. Watch them, give them likes up, subscribe to them if you're really into this kind of into Swift or any kind of bike riding, or if you're outdoors. There's a ton of guys out here, ton of useful information. Swift Insiders, I like watching him when he gives updates on the new things coming to Swift, what's happening in Swift. He likes to talk, especially early in the year, he would talk peak Swift when the most people be on here and when the most people won't. For me, these guys are really good for motivational reasons. They give you ideas of how to attack the tracks. And once again, I want to say thank you for everyone who gives me comments. Please keep doing it because they're useful. As I stated before, when I get to these next couple of races, you'll understand what I mean by these things are useful for me because I'm starting to take them in. They're making me a better rider, per se. Now, I will give you a warning on some of these races that I'm going to be posting this week. I don't know if I'm going to post. I think I'm going to post this one first on Monday because that way you can see what I did on the week before for the stage. And then I will go into the tiny race Tuesday through the rest of the week. That's what I'm going to do this week because I want to build it up to the next tiny races, which I'm going to do next Saturday at 5 a.m. I will be there like I was this week, but for some reason I had a different kind of startup string and it wouldn't let me go in the race. And by the time I got ready to race again at 11 o'clock, I was out running errands, and I still was out running. Me and the wife working on a garden, and we went out and bought some trees, some fruit trees, and I didn't have a chance to get back until 5 o'clock to race yesterday. And I want to be honest with you, I will never do that again. Never. I don't really run well in the afternoon. First of all, 5 o'clock for me, 6 o'clock for me, I'm usually winding the day down because about 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm in bed. I'm a very early guy. I wake up at 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock every day, weekends included. So for me to do that race late that night, my body was sore. I did a 15-minute mirror, which is Lululemon's Mirror Studios. I have a mirror. And I did the mirror stretch, lower body stretch, just to get my legs ready for that ride. I was in pain in that ride. And you will notice my heart rate was way higher than it normally would be for my races. But I want to give this. Tandem and a couple of more of the guys who were racing that day, y'all pushed me. I'm just going to be honest. Y'all pushed me to an uncomfortable level for me, where normally where I would be racing in a race like I'm doing today, where I'm by myself and the only thing I'm racing is the clock, I raced y'all. And it was so fun. Thank you to everyone who pushed me and everyone who beat me. I love these things that happen. That's the reason, and I keep reiterating this, that I won't move up to C for a while. Because I want to get to the point where I can master most of the things that I'm taking on now. I'm level 21. I started racing at level 20, which was my first race ever was June 29th. So I've only been racing for a month. I think I got, about 30 races in now, 33 races in total. I've been racing quite a few races. My goal is, I want to say October is my birth month. October, I want to try to get 50 races in that whole month. They're short, long, don't matter what they are, 50 races for that month. Now you have to remember, I still do use my hydro, which I don't cut it down to the point where I just do 15-minute rolls. Those things, my goal at 15-minute rolls is, it's 20-minute rolls, sorry. I've been doing 20-minute rolls. My goal at 20-minute rolls is, I'm trying to get to the point where I'm putting in 5,000 meters every 20 minutes. When I'm pushing the hardest, I'm 4,800 meters in on 20-minute roll. I'm trying to get to the point where I'm on 5,000 plus meters every 20 minutes. I'm gonna get there, it's just taking time. As you see, I'm coming on this race. I've been talking about everything but the race. As you see, I'm coming around on this race. It's really hard because sometimes I have a lead so much further ahead where it's not that I'm just trying to beat the mess out of people. I'm choosing races where they have 31, 45, 60 people in the race. So I'm not just choosing races go, oh man, I'm the only person here in this race. No, you will never see me do that. Maybe 6 or 7 because I got up that morning and there's nobody else there racing at that time. And because of the way I work for the day, this is Sunday. I got up this morning, I raced a race today, the Volcano Road to Hell. And I ran that race. It was only 7 of us in there. But I did do something that somebody advised me to do when I was riding these races. And I will talk about that because I want to look it up. I want to look his name up who gave me the comment on he was wondering what would happen if I did a certain kind of way of riding. And I want to speak his name out there because he gave me a comment that, hey, he was wondering and I tried it. I tried it and you will see the results. So I did do that. Now with this one, I say I know the climb. I know I'm reaching 300 feet of climb on here, so I know, okay, cool. I'm almost through this race. This race has been good for me. I am slowly tiring it out because I think this was a total of 10 miles. So the race, 10 miles and greater, that's when I start reaching into my bag to get a little bit better, a little bit longer distance. I'm running more of the 14s. I'm gonna slowly swip up to the 20s. Once I'm able to run a 50-kilometer race, which is 34 miles, when I'm able to run those kind of races with no problem sustaining 350, 400, running 2.5, 2.3, 2.2 in that area for the whole race, I feel very satisfied with what I'm doing, how I'm achieving. And I think that's when I will move up. Most likely, I'm thinking maybe 4 months from now, with the weight, especially with the way my weight is going, I'm maintaining my eating. I'm watching what I eat, how I eat, when I eat. Trying to take in a lot. I take in a lot of fluids, but I'm trying to take in even more fluids now because I'm burning them out of me now. So I try to take in even more fluids. With this race here, I'm out of front quite a bit, and so the only thing I have now is to race myself in this race. I'm really racing myself, and it's fun, but I have to admit, I'm used to racing with other people now. I really like, especially after this weekend, sometimes it's nice to have people who, it's not even sometimes, it's real nice to have people pushing you the whole time. And that the one thing I did like about riding this week that I missed yesterday, I ended up having to ride at 5 o'clock in the evening, there were a lot of people to push. And I really like, and maybe it would have been that morning because it's actually more people in the race that morning. It was like almost 50. And I was just ready for that race. I knew it's not just me. It was some people that were there to push me. But still, these things are, oh, man, how do I say it? These rides where I'm alone, and like I said, you only have you to push yourself. I'm not threatened by somebody coming up on me, but I do see the numbers going down on the meter, so I try to act like, okay, he's not a minute and 7 seconds behind, he's only 7 seconds behind. So these little tricks I do to try to keep myself super motivated as I'm going through it, because it's not all about just the win all the time. I'm jumping in races, like I said, like I said, this one has 31 people in it. So I'm jumping in races with more people in there that can race against me. But I know that if I go up to C, and I've been reading it, if I come back down, I may win on the screen. Yeah, that's nice. But with Swift Power, I'll be disqualified from the races. So I don't want to move up until I can sustain in that area. And once I move up, there is no coming back for me. I don't want to move up, get smarter, and feel all bad and come back down and nothing really counts ever. So I won't move up until I'm actually ready to move up. That's something I want to motivate. That's something that I want to put out there for people who are trying to lose weight. If you're trying to lose weight or you're a bigger guy, sometimes people try to push you past what you're ready to do. Perfect example for me is I started walking around Stone Mountain when I stay here in Georgia. I started walking around Stone Mountain when I first started losing weight about 3 years ago. I was walking around Stone Mountain, and at the time, I think I had lost a little bit just because I started working after my knee surgeries. I was down to like 480 pounds, and I started walking around Stone Mountain. And I would walk around there all the time. I was exhausted. It's a 5-mile walk. And I did my first time, and my wife would go with me, and we would just constantly walk. You know, she's 160 pounds soaking wet, 170 pounds soaking wet, 5'10", 5'11". So we would walk around this park, and we would walk around the mountain, and she would just leave me if she wanted to. But we would walk, and sometimes she would go, well, why don't you jog? And I would try to jog, but for me, my knees weren't really ready yet. And I fell a couple of times just trying to jog. They would just give out on me, and I would just fall on the ground. So I wasn't ready for the move to trying to jog. But after about 6 months, I was ready to start kind of jogging it out. My walks were much faster, to the point where when we would walk around the mountain, I was starting to leave her. And it wasn't on purpose or nothing. It was just that I was starting to get used to it. One thing I've always done is I've always liked walking distances. I used to run a lot when I was in high school, younger. But as I became a truck driver, kind of gained weight. I was a vegetarian for like 8 years, and I call it carb-tarian because as a truck driver, even though I was trying to eat right, there was nothing mostly but carbs. So you can imagine eating that, gaining weight, eating that, gaining weight, and before you know it, you have, like a whale, you have layers. That's the only way I can come up with. But sorry for that for other big people who don't get angry for me saying that. But we build our weight up, and for summer especially, I know a lot of y'all are in other countries, but especially for us Americans, I'm starting to really learn that a lot of us don't know we know how to lose weight, we know how to do things, but we really have to educate ourselves on how to eat. And I've learned to educate myself over the years of how to eat, what I eat, what affects my body, what doesn't affect my body. And as I'm learning this, I'm working with a diet coach, I'm working with my doctors, my endocrinologists. I'm working with all of them as a team to help me lose the weight. And they understand I'm really serious about it. So that's why I'm going with that. Here on this race, I'll keep focusing off of it, but here on this race, I'm coming up to the end. I'm tired. I'm really tired, but I'm not as bad because, like you see, my heart rate is on 155, 153 as I come across the line. So when I get to the end of the races, sometimes I see that I'm finished number 1% in my category, but I do check the C category to see where I'm at. I was at 26 minutes. You see, the top, I don't think I got a chance to scroll down, but as you can see for them, that's nowhere near the top 10. And then when I go to A is always, that's a whole different beast. I won't even figure out what A do. I think A is a mythological area that I will touch one day. But as for right now, A is the moon, and all I have is a kite. I'm not gonna make it up there right now, but one day I will.